Shalom Aleichem. My name is Tony Pino, and today we're continuing in our series concerning the objections to celebrating Hanukkah. This is number 4, and with the fourth objection, we have the comparison of the Hanukkiah to the Menorah. You see, those who oppose Hanukkah say that we are breaking Torah by lighting a Hanukkiah, that we're replacing the Menorah, or we're following paganism, because Hanukkah is also called the Festival of Lights. We see that through Josephus. Josephus tells us that within his writings, that it is the Festival of Lights. And so they'll say, well, see, you guys got that from paganism there in the ancient Babylon when the Jews were exiled to Babylon. The ancient societies have Festival of Lights. And even today, the Hindus have a Festival of Lights called, I think it's Diwali. Yeah, Diwali. And so, we're just mimicking the Hindu religion and all of that. So we're going to go ahead and look at that today and see, is that really true? Is lighting a Hanukkiah wrong? Is it breaking Torah? Let's find out. But before we get to that part, let's go ahead and do a short summary of Hanukkah, just in case some of you are seeing this for the first time and don't know what Hanukkah is. The word Hanukkah means dedication or rededication. It's the rededicating of the temple that occurred in 165 BCE. Now, 3 years prior, in 168 BCE, we have a king by the name of Antiochus IV, and he nicknamed himself Epiphanes, meaning God manifest. He begins to outlaw the Torah. He wants his entire empire to be under one set of laws. He doesn't want any distinction between people at all. And he's tired of these rebellious Jews who keep fighting him on it, and really, in his eyes, don't appreciate his kingship over them. Okay, so he outlaws Torah. He takes down the offering system. Okay, he puts pig on the altar and starts sacrificing pigs on the holy altar. He puts up a statue of Zeus in the temple grounds area. He makes Jerusalem into like a vacation center for his soldiers, where all kinds of debauchery, all kinds of sexual immorality is occurring. It basically turns Yah's house into a whorehouse. Okay, if you are caught circumcising your children, you are put to death. Women who tried to circumcise their children, the children were put to death, and then they would hang the baby around the mother's neck and parade her around the town to send fear into all other mothers who might think of circumcising their children. All right, and then not long after that, we have a Jewish revolt that happens. And the leader of that revolt, his name is Mattathias from the Hasmonean line. He is of the first priestly order, so he is a priest. And him and his 5 sons create a revolt. It's called the Maccabean Revolt. Well, after a year, Mattathias dies. Okay, he hands the army, the Jewish army, over to his son. He has 5 of them. He hands it over to Yehuda, and Yehuda is nicknamed Maccabee, meaning the hammer, and that's what his army gets nicknamed, the Maccabees, because over the course of that 3-year period, they slowly begin to win back ground over the Grecian army. And in 165 BCE, they take back the temple. They take back the temple, they cleanse it, and they have a rededication celebration. And during this rededication celebration, they decide to have it last 8 days. What is the reason for the 8 days? They had missed Sukkot. So they wanted to make this celebration similar to Sukkot since they had just missed it. Not only that, but Solomon, when he dedicated the first temple, he did it during the time of Sukkot and did it for 8 days. And so you can see where the similarity comes, where the idea of making it an 8-day celebration. Now, Hanukkah never replaced the other days, the other festivals, okay, the feast of Yahweh that were commandments of Yahweh's. This just became a tradition of celebration. Why? Yahweh gave them the victory. And if you believe like I do, that Yeshua is of the same essence and nature as the Father, though distinct and separate, Yeshua gave them the victory. Why? So that the temple would be standing when Yeshua came. Also, there would be Jews in the land. I mean, let's face it, if you are outlawing circumcision and you win 100 years later or so, there aren't going to be any more Jews in the land. And so Yeshua is a Jew. There needs to be Jews in the land for when Yeshua comes. So it is by the sovereign will of Yahweh, no matter how you look at it. Yeshua and the Father and the Ruach HaKodesh gave the Maccabees the victory. And they had a temple and everything standing so Yeshua could fulfill the Torah when he came. So the celebration is all to the Father. Amen. And it's not replacing the other festivals. Okay. But as I said, because they created this 8-day celebration, over time, a tradition of lighting 8 candles came into existence. And then, of course, the term Festival of Lights came into existence. And so what is the purpose of what is called a Hanakia? This is a 9-branch candlestick, okay? 9-branch candlestick. It was to celebrate the 8 days, okay? Let me go ahead and show you a picture of the 9-branch candlestick and a menorah. All right, so on the left, we have a Hanukkiah. And a Hanukkiah, again, is a 9-branch candlestick. Now, the tall one in the center is called the Shamash candle. All right, and the Shamash candle is called a servant candle. And what you do is you light the servant candle first, and then it serves the other candles as it lights the candles. Now, there were a couple traditions in the days of Yeshua. The Shammai, school of Shammai, they started out with all 8 candles. You would light them all on the first day of Hanukkah with the servant candle, and then you would take one away each day in celebration of the victory of the Maccabees that Yahweh gave to them. Now, if you came from the school of Hillel, then you started out with the servant candle, and then you would add a candle each day, so that on the 8th day, all 9 candles were lit, okay? And so they both were tradition. Neither one violate the Torah, okay? They weren't held as a higher candlestick than the menorah. The menorah is the ultimate candlestick. It sits in the holy place, amen? And to us Messianics, it represents Yeshua as the light of the world, the light that is in our hearts, because our body is the temple of Yahweh. Okay, and just as the menorah lit up the most holy place, so Yeshua lights up our hearts. And also the oil represents the Ruach HaKodesh. Amen. The power of the Ruach HaKodesh that lives inside of us. And so we honor and give thanks for the menorah because of what it foreshadows and represents to Yeshua. And we do not hold the Hanukkiah higher than the menorah. The Hanukkiah is just a man-made item that reflects the victory that Yeshua, the Father, and the Ruach HaKodesh gave the Maccabees so the temple could be re-cleansed and dedicated. It stands for Yahweh's faithfulness to Israel, who is the bride of Yeshua, the covenant faithfulness he has with them, and to the covenant of Abraham. Amen. Remember, salvation is to the Jew first and then to the Gentile. Yeshua is the King of the Jews. He is where salvation comes. Amen. And then from him, since he's King of the Jews, it goes down into the nation of Israel, since they represent the new covenant and who the new covenant is given to. In Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah, chapter 31, verses 30 through 34. And then it comes out to all the nations. The blessings go out to the nations. So that's what the Hanukkiah stands for, the faithfulness of Yahweh, the faithfulness of Yeshua. Amen. And it's called the Festival of Lights. Why? Because of Yeshua, because of the Father, because we are just so thankful. Amen. Yahweh is the true light of the world. And a festival of lights, 8 days of celebration for the dedication or rededication of the temple, meaning the rededicating of their lives back to Yahweh, reinstituting Torah back into the nation of Israel. Amen. And so, no, it's not even in competition with the menorah. Now, the fact that it's called Festival of Lights, and we have other religions that have Festival of Lights, means nothing. Okay? Yahweh gave Israel an altar. He gave Israel animal offerings. He gave Israel drink offerings, meal offerings. They have a temple. Okay? They have all kinds of things that decorate the temple grounds. Many of those things you can find in pagan temples that they use. They use an altar. They use candles. They use animal offerings, drink offerings, meal offerings. Okay? we're not worshiping the created thing like the pagans do. We're worshiping the creator. Amen. The candlestick is just a decoration and stands symbolically for the victory of Yahweh. The idea that it's called the Festival of Lights is just because of what the lights represent. We're not worshiping the lights. We're not worshiping the Hanakia. And so those who try to make a big deal that we're trying to replace the menorah with the Hanukkiah, or, we're worshiping like the pagans do, they're just, sorry, making up nonsense. And I'm not trying to be mean or cruel, but that's just what it is. When we do a proper comparison, just because you're using something as a decoration that is created by our creator, as long as we're not worshiping the created and we're worshiping the creator, we are just fine. Amen. And that's why Yahweh gave them all those items to put in the temple area. They were used as symbols to point you to him, to worship him. Amen. And so, does the opposers of Hanukkah have a strong and valid argument when it comes to the Hanukkiah? Absolutely not. Sorry. It's just a tradition. And you know what? If you don't want to use a Hanukkiah, you're not sinning. If you're using a Hanukkiah, you're not sinning. As long as you're not worshiping the created thing, you're worshiping the creator. You're perfectly fine. Amen. So we still have a few more to go in the future. So until we meet again, shalom, everyone.